AI doesn't just change what we can do, it might be quietly changing how humans think. Most people wouldn't notice it happening because the shift isn't dramatic. It's happening quietly inside the process of thinking itself. For most of human history, thinking had friction. You had to search for information, argue with people, sit with uncertainty. Sometimes you stared at a problem for hours as they didn't know the answer. Sometimes you were completely wrong and had to rebuild your thinking from scratch. That friction was like a gym where thinking got stronger. Now we have tools that generate answers instantly, clean, structured, confident, often more articulate than the person asking the question. So people with weaker reasoning habits may simply trust them. The responses are smart, it feels complete, but AI has a blind spot. It can't detect the questions you didn't ask. If someone doesn't know what to challenge, AI can't reveal what's missing either. So the answer may look complete, even when the thinking behind it isn't. The friction didn't disappear, it just moved. The old friction was finding information. The new friction is judgment, deciding what's correct, what's incomplete, what still needs questioning. And judgment is much harder to outsource. This creates a strange dynamic. People may start inheriting reasoning patterns without realizing it. Most AI answers follow a clean structure. Frame the question, list factors, link them together, arrive at a conclusion. The structure feels complete, but clean structure isn't the same as good thinking. Hidden assumptions, missing context, oversimplified trade-offs. Yet, this sounds convincing. And when people read thousands of responses like that, they don't just absorb information, they start absorbing the style of reasoning. Some people start sounding smarter without thinking deeper. AI exposes people to so many ways of building an argument, different ways to compare ideas with trade-offs, reach conclusions. And this is where people separate. People who know how to challenge reasoning use it as a thinking lab. They test assumptions, spot gaps immediately, explore alternative paths. Their reasoning gets sharper. But people who don't reevaluate reasoning may simply inherit the structure. They repeat arguments that sound organized and mistake that structure for depth. AI can produce something confidently, easily, confidence without understanding. And the person using it may not even notice the difference. AI answers faster than humans can judge them. Thinking normally slows you down. You check assumptions, test edge cases, ask another question. But with AI, the loop easily becomes question, answer, acceptance. No pause, no friction. Instead of question, exploration, debate, refinement, when that middle stage disappears, nuance disappears with it. AI might not flatten intelligence, it might split it. Some people will quietly start outsourcing their thinking. Others will use it as a thinking partner. Same tool, very different ways of thinking. And the difference might not be intelligence, it might be who still slows down to think. And you can already see hints of this in how people communicate. AI is making some explanations sound smarter than thinking behind it. You can start noticing it in how people explain things now. Suddenly, everything feels very structured. Clear sentences, organized arguments, clean conclusions. From the outside, it sounds intelligent. But structure isn't the same as thinking. People who spend a lot of time with AI start absorbing its style. The explanations feel cleaner, the arguments more organized, the reasoning easier to follow. That can genuinely improve clarity. But it can also create something else. Communication becomes more structured even when the thinking underneath hasn't actually deepened. After a while, you start noticing it everywhere. The structure looks polished, the explanation sounds complete, but the thinking inside it doesn't really move anywhere. AI amplifies this because it can organize almost any input it receives. Even vague thoughts can come back sounding coherent. So someone will start communicating more clearly without necessarily thinking deeply. Meanwhile, strong thinkers tend to use AI very differently. They challenge it, push their thinking further. For them, it becomes more of a sparring partner than an answer machine. Same tool, very different outcomes. Some people end up formatting explanations better. Others actually expand how they think. On the surface, the communication can sound almost identical. But when you pay attention to the thinking inside it, the difference becomes obvious. You can see the tension showing up in hiring too. Right now, there is a lot of debate around AI hiring candidates in interviews. Most people frame it as cheating. But the real situation is more complicated. In real-world environments, people use tools now. AI tools, search engines, documentation, collaboration. So interviews may be testing something quite artificial. What if the approach changed? Instead of hiring AI, candidates used it transparently. Imagine someone showing how they research your company using AI, whether they challenge the outputs, what insights they develop from that process. That would reveal something much more interesting than memorized answers. It would reveal how people think. But that introduces another tension. What if recruiters themselves can't evaluate that thinking? Because the real skill isn't simply using AI, it's judging reasoning quality. And that literacy is uneven right now. We haven't seen this pattern before with new technologies. When institutions don't understand a tool, the first instinct is to ban it. But eventually, the conversation shifts from prohibition to literacy. So the real question becomes, how do people learn to use this tool intelligently? With AI, that literacy isn't just technical, it's cognitive. It's about judgment, knowing how to question the answer, detect significations, explore more layers of a problem. And right now, we are in a very strange transition. Students experiment with AI every day. Meanwhile, institutions and educators are still figuring it out themselves. So the gap is widening. AI isn't just changing what we can do. It's quietly changing how we think, how we reason, how we communicate. And the real divide in the future might not be between the people who use AI and the people who don't. It might be between the people who direct it and the people who depend on it. And the deeper question isn't the technology, it's whether human judgment goes alongside it or slowly fades behind it.